I'd like to discuss the absolute worst ice cream you can consume and the best ice cream that you can enjoy, and yes, there are specific ice creams that are nutritious. I'm going to share an excellent recipe with you at the conclusion of this video. I believe I would be an expert in ice cream since I used to eat a significant amount of it. I recall that for 1 year, I consumed 1 pint of Ben Jerry's ice cream every single night to be able to sleep because I had severe insomnia. I noticed that when I ate Ben Jerry's, it put me to sleep. Little did I realize that this was called a sugar coma. So let's begin with the worst-case scenario type ice cream, Ben and Jerry's. If you examine the ingredients for Ben Jerry's, it contains cream, liquid sugar, skim milk, additional sugar, brown sugar, soybean oil, and of course, don't forget the tapioca flour, which, by the way, they use as a filler, and it's not even sweet. Now, what's notable about Ben Jerry's ice cream is that per serving size, there's 49 g of carbohydrates, so 49 times 3 is equal to 147 g of carbohydrate, and some of that starch converts into sugar. So what we're actually dealing with is about 35 3/4 teaspoons of sugar in a Ben Jerry's pint of ice cream. Consider how much sugar is in there. Alright, let's proceed up the list to Breyers. 1 serving size is 21 g of carbs, 18 g of sugar, but there are 4 servings. So if you multiply 21 by 4, we get 84 g of carbohydrate. With this product, we're not just dealing with regular sugar, we're dealing with high fructose corn syrup. This is actually far worse than cane sugar, and in addition to that, they're adding seed oils. It's hazardous. This is why if you're consuming high fat, you must also consume low carb. You don't ever want to consume high carb and high fat together, unfortunately. Ice cream is usually that scenario. The next type of ice cream we're going to discuss is Breyers Vanilla. Just plain vanilla, and it's very interesting because they only have about 4 ingredients: milk, cream, sugar, a certain type of gum, kind of like a thickener, and natural flavorings. That's it. So that's obviously a major improvement, but they don't necessarily tell you if it's organic or grass-fed or whatever. Then they have another version of Breyers called Carb Smart. This is supposedly their low-carb version, and then they ruined it with maltitol syrup. It's a type of sweetener that's supposed to not raise your blood sugars that much. Just because something says it's carb smart or low carb or keto friendly doesn't necessarily mean it's truly friendly to your blood sugars. Plus, it creates a lot of gastrointestinal issues. And of course, they also add the soluble corn fiber that people claim is really good for you, but there are no safety studies on them. Then they have something called sucralose, which is a chlorine-based sugar, and it's known to create some issues with your microbiome. So I would definitely avoid that one. But if I had the choice between the regular vanilla Breyers with the 5 ingredients and this one, I'd probably go with the regular one. I just would not consume very much. Now let's talk about Häagen-Dazs. This is another one that has about 5 different ingredients: cream, skim milk, egg yolk, cane sugar, and natural flavoring. The amount of cane sugar is 23 g. The serving size is 5, which puts it only at 14 teaspoons of sugar instead of 34 teaspoons of sugar. Häagen-Dazs has half the sugar that Ben Jerry's has. Now let's get into the so-called keto-friendly types of ice cream. The first one I'm going to show you is simply keto. I think it's a keto brand. It says it's keto-friendly, it only has 3 net carbs, and the serving size is 3. There's a total of 16 carbs. But now let's just examine the ingredients. We have cream, water, egg yolk, strawberries, and then of course they have the soluble corn fiber as well. The thing about this one is it has 10 g of sugar alcohol for 1/3 of this. So if you were to consume this whole thing, that's 30 g of sugar alcohol that's going to create digestive issues. I'm glad that they don't add other types of sugar in here. So I think they ruined it with all these synthetic fibers, honestly, but again, if we're comparing it to Ben Jerry's, it's an improvement. I just have to tell you a quick story. I decided at one time, several years ago, to create my keto-friendly ice cream. I wanted to use coconut oil as our fat, and I used the best ingredients, and we went back and forth to create the best texture. It's a significant problem to solve. I remember going to the manufacturing company to do the first run, and I ordered the wrong coconut oil. It was a disaster. Finally, we got it done and we created this amazing ice cream. It was literally the best ice cream I've ever had. Here's the problem. Ice cream is frozen, it's vulnerable to heat. All of the air that kept it fluffy went away, and the ice cream was down by about 1/3. We literally put 20,000 units into the dumpster. So that was my adventure into the world of making ice cream. Alright, now let's talk about Rebel. Rebel has 0 grams of sugar per pint. So what's in Rebel? Cream, water, egg yolk, chicory root fiber, milk protein isolate, carob gum, and monk fruit. Now, those aren't bad ingredients, so this would be fine to consume. Now let's get into this one called Simple Truth. But this is not even ice cream, though this is a frozen dairy dessert. The reason they have to call it a frozen dairy dessert is because it doesn't contain at least 10% of the milk fat. Look at these ingredients. The first one is inulin. Anytime you have anything as the first ingredient, that's like the majority of the product, which is automatically going to raise red flags for digestive issues. Then they get into allulose, which I do like as a sweetener. Then maltitol, you want to avoid that one. That's going to just create bloating and gut pain. Then it has erythritol, then it has milk protein concentrate, coconut oil, guar gum, monk fruit, and stevia. This has 28 grams of carbohydrate, it has 8 grams of fiber, so 30% of this is fiber. But check this out. The sugar alcohols come to 13 g times 3 as a serving size equals 39 g of sugar alcohol. You do not want to consume this whole thing in one sitting because you're going to be on the toilet. Okay, so as you can see, there are different levels of badness with ice cream, and you cannot trust just something that says keto-friendly or carb-smart. You have to read the ingredients. I mentioned a couple that were okay, but I think the best thing is to make your own. There are 2 different versions of this. You have the version for the person who really wants to be low-carb and truly keto-friendly. That recipe would be heavy cream, egg yolks, allulose, a pinch of sea salt, and vanilla flavoring. You can also add other things too, like pecans or walnuts. Blend it up and then put it in the freezer for 4 to 5 hours. Take it out and you have your ice cream. Okay, so that's one version. There's another version I want to mention that would involve organic cream, 2 egg yolks, honey, a little pinch of sea salt, and pure vanilla. Either put it in the ice cream maker or put it in the blender, and then you have more control of what's in your ingredients and you can have this on a special occasion. So go ahead and try out the recipes, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next video.